Hello, America, you poor souls. Welcome back to another bastardized version of the James Marv Show in Iowa. Idiots over Washington's antics. And trust me, with 1 week to go before Election Day, we are over it officially.
No kidding.
Um, it's funny because my interest level is going like this while everything else in the political realm is going like this. So we're here to talk about a few of those things today. I'm here with Major Tom, and I'm here with Uncle Russ, as always. Um, wow, guys, we got a week to go. I can't wait for it to be over. It is,
Likewise.
but I'm telling you guys right now, I'm going to reveal something in this episode that I believe is Donald Trump's plan and has been his plan all along, which means, yes, we have elections in a week. It's far from over. I want to start with, well, today we're going to be talking about the Nazi style rally that Donald Trump had in in old Madison Square Garden. But we'll get there. First thing at first, I wanted to talk about Steve Bannon. Um, does anybody have a like a portrayal of him that you can give before we go? He got out of jail today. And I'm going to come to you, Tom, first. I think you can probably explain why he was there to begin with and what you think it means that he got out today.
So, Bannon was in jail serving, I believe, a 4-month prison term sentence for refusing to comply with a congressional subpoena to testify in front of the January 6th committee. He clearly didn't want to do it. He flaunted the subpoena, and it was a legal subpoena, and the court said you can't do that, and so you can be prosecuted for that. They did that. They put him in jail. The Supreme Court, it's on appeal, but the Supreme Court said, yeah, you're going to go to jail anyway, even though you have an appeal pending. They refused to take the case. He went in, he served his 4 months, and today at 3:15 a.m. they let him go. Um, do you want me to do a background on him? Just a quick one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. He was an advisor to Trump in the first term. He helped Trump get elected the first time around. He owns or owned and operates Breitbart News, which is an extremely conservative right wing smear rag on the internet that pretty much traffics in a lot of stuff that's not even demonstrably true. But that's his, and he used to be part of the Wall Street establishment, and basically he got disavowed by those people. They've declared war on him, and or he's declared war on them, I should say. And he basically says, "I'm a Leninist. I want to burn the system down." That's what he's about. He wants to tear down the American system and replace it with something different. I'll stop there.
Well, that doesn't always seem like a bad idea. I mean, to be
Well,
fair,
except what he wants to replace it with would
well,
not be something anybody'd want.
that's where things become problematic. Uncle Russ,
Yes.
do you have anything to add before
I
we move?
just want to add real quick a little bit of editorializing about Steve Bannon. He came on my radar recently, not through watching the news or politics, but one of my hobbies is doing research on mind controlling religious cults, particularly post World War II cults that came out of the Latter Rain movement in the United States. And there's a large number of political and religious groups which have come out of this. And why was I not surprised when they talk about, some of these influences that who pops up on the video I'm watching? Steve Bannon. Very, very heavily influenced by the same writers that led to British Israelism, Christian identity, which are just nice religious words for white supremacy. He is very, very conversant in the same group of writers that led to this whole movement and this whole way of, I mean, with him, it's politics and religion meshed together in its most brutal totalitarian form. And like you said, he calls himself a Leninist. He wants to tear down all existing social structures. He's considered to be an accelerationist. You know, the quicker things fall apart, the better. I just think he's a complete nut job. And if I had to call somebody an evil person, I would tend to call him an evil person.
All right. That said, how do we believe the relationship between him and Trump is currently?
I would imagine one of the first text messages that Steve Bannon exchanged once he was outside the prison wall and handed back his cell phone was to Donald Trump.
Can you pick me up?
Please send limo.
That's what I was thinking. He seems like one of these loyalist fruits that's very likely to be part of the administration should Donald Trump be elected. And guys, that's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. All right, let's talk about this ridiculous Nazi reinvention of a rally that happened in the very same building in 1939.
Yes.
Amidst the middle of Nazi propaganda. And it was called something about America for America.
America First movement.
Sure.
Yeah.
The German American Bund, they were the fascist movement in America, and their slogan was America First.
Yeah. Well,
They're the ones that invented it.
I don't want to make this too much about Melania Trump, but everybody gets all excited when she shows up because she rarely does.
Yep.
All right. And I can't even begin to think about what their relationship is like. If she's on some kind of deal that once you're out of politics, or maybe once you die, I'll just be happy. Because she's certain to outlive him. He's old piece of crap. She's younger, but she makes it a point to turn away from the lip kiss almost every time. And again, I would be annoyed if people on the right were doing this about Kamala. So if you're watching this show, I don't know why you're watching this show, but I understand your frustration. But it's clearly obvious that she doesn't want to kiss him. And it's really just
I don't either. I don't want to kiss him either.
It's just awkward for everyone to look at. I don't need comments from you guys on that. We all know that it's just weird. Here we go. So for this rally, Trump was 2 hours late, at least, which I hear is not uncommon at these rallies, but he did have a host of people also performing or opening up, including one comedian, Tony Hinchcliffe. Now, Tom, you would have recognized him from the Tom Brady roast. He was on that.
Okay.
I mean, I know that you've seen him before.
Yes. Yep.
Because of that.
Anybody who insults Tom Brady can't be all bad.
But he says a lot of weird stuff, man.
Bad.
What the most damning thing that he said was to insult Puerto Rico, which we know that Donald Trump has done before. I mean, he tried to sell them. I mean,
yeah.
So I mean, I don't know how much more disdain you can show for your own people than trying to push them off to somebody else, calling them dirty.
Yeah.
It's clear how he feels about it. And so this comedian knows this. He comes up and he says, "Oh, do you guys realize that there's a floating island of garbage in the ocean?" Which there actually is. So he's not only making fun of Puerto Rico, but he's making fun of the fact that we have a giant problem with the environment and all the different things. This is killing like coral reefs. And
yes.
animals galore. So, I mean, I haven't even heard that part be mentioned. So yeah, he's taken a swing at environmentalists and Puerto Rico at the same time. Congratulations, man. If you're trying to knock out as many birds with one stone as you can, you're winning. But yeah, he said a floating island of garbage.
Not only
Yeah.
did he say that in insult the island, he insulted Puerto Rican people as a class of people, as a group of people, talking about how they, and I won't get into it, but, you know, no birth control. They just keep having kids. And I mean, and a couple of other things too. And it was shit that just wasn't funny. And, kind of an odd thing to do for a candidate that's wanting to get more Hispanic voters.
I don't know how many votes he lost, but I'm sure he lost a lot of votes from Puerto Rican people. Uh,
Well, go ahead.
no, I just think even people within his campaign were distancing himself today from this comedian's remarks. But on a personal level, of course, he absolutely refuses to renounce him. He won't do it.
Yeah, and that's one of my points. This guy also, um, I didn't watch the entire rally or his entire because I just frankly I can't do it. But I did see the highlights, and at one point there was a black gentleman there that had a weird hat on, and he commented on this, and the crowd kind of was like, and he goes, "It's all right, we'll carve watermelons together later on." And I'm
Instead of
just like,
pumpkins. Yeah.
how, like, read the room. They didn't like your Puerto Rico joke. What do you like? When Trump fans are like, "Oh, maybe you've gone too far." Now, it doesn't matter when Trump does it, but when somebody else does it, they're like, "Oh, did Trump approve of that?"
Right.
But here's the thing.
Well,
Trump came up and he didn't say, "I don't agree with what was said there," which is what a sane person would do. And here's the thing, Tom, I'll let you get to in a second, but
yep.
all of this stuff has to be vetted. They're not just going to have somebody show up and speak without seeing the material that they're going to say. I would think this is a pretty big deal. And if they are allowing people to speak on their behalf at their rallies without going over the material that's being said, they don't give a fuck. Go ahead.
Well, it's interesting how they're changing their story on this. So when this guy went right away when it hit the news that he was doing this stuff and people saw it, the initial response from the campaign was, we didn't vet any of the comments that any of the speakers were going to make tonight. And I said to myself, well, that's political malpractice if you are his campaign and you didn't do that. But then it comes out later that it was either this comedian or another speaker was going to use the C word to describe Kamala. And they told him, yeah, that's going too far. You can't do that. So clearly they knew the material he was going to
Right.
present, and they did cut back on one or two things that he was going to say. The other real, if you want to know the true reading on it, is look at what Don Jr. said right away when people first started getting concerned. He was putting tweets and stuff out saying, "Oh, get over it, people. Have a sense of humor. He's a great comedian. It was funny. Da 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 da." And obviously this was before Senator Rick Scott in Florida, who has a huge Puerto Rican voter base he's trying to get reelected, and a congresswoman down there who's a Republican who's trying to get reelected. And, never mind the fact that there's 200,000 Puerto Rican voters in Pennsylvania, one of the states that Trump absolutely has to have to win. I mean, this
Mhm.
this is just sheer stupidity. I've never seen anything like it, really.
It's
I
unbelievable.
will explain this stupidity before the end of this show. I will. I promise. All right. So other problematic here. This is what bothers me. All right. I'm reading about what the left has done in response to this, and I see memes and write-ups of like, this is not okay. This is what was said in Trump's rally. Kamala Harris is a whore. That never occurred. She was not called a
Right.
whore. It was alluded to that she might have been a lady of the night, but that's not the terminology that was used. And this
Right.
is the kind of thing that really just, I can't, this is why I have to fact check everything. Because even if it's coming from my side, who I like to believe is telling the truth, it's just not facts sometimes.
That's right.
Oh, absolutely. The amount
Yeah.
of garbage coming from Harris supporters that is just not true is really bad also. I
I
don't know
mean,
what people think they're doing with all this,
I,
but
I think that they probably just didn't watch it, which is fair. But honestly, I watched the rally just because I wanted to see somebody say Kamala Harris is a whore because I read it on one of these things and it never happened.
right.
Nope.
Um, there's plenty there to bitch about without having to
Without making stuff
making
up.
stuff up. And one
Yeah.
of those things is to our original point starting the show, which was Stephen Miller. Tom, I'm gonna let you start on this one. He says America is for Americans only. What are your thoughts
America,
on that?
well, you got to understand Stephen Miller, and he was a prominent advisor to Trump in the first administration. He is one of his number one guys still. He will be in a second Trump administration. His mantra has been immigration, 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 immigration. I've seen interviews with this guy.
Mhm.
He is a foaming at the mouth, rabid uh, person about this issue. I've seen him go from being what appears to be a normal, rational person to when confronted with real facts about this, he totally loses his
Yeah.
shit and he just goes bananas on air. He clearly has emotional investment in this and not in a good way.
Right.
And this is what we really can expect going forward from this. They want to make this a whites only club country. And if you
Right.
came anywhere else, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
That's
You
my
know,
take on it.
and you'll have people say, well, he has plenty of black people in his administration before. He almost considered Ben Carson as a running mate. And I would just respond to those people saying, you know what? That they're patsies. They
Have
have
you
to
ever heard of the term token?
yeah, there you go. The token black guy.
Yep. The,
We have black friends so that when people call us racist, we can what are you talking about? He's our friend.
yep.
Token black, yeah. And look, I I've all but tried to keep myself from saying if you're voting for Trump, you're just stupid. But I can no longer keep that quiet.
Yeah.
When you watch this and when you learn about what I'm about to tell you guys, it, you're just stupid. There's nothing redeeming about, I don't care what your values are. I don't care if you think that your groceries are going to be cheaper or your power bills. If that's your agenda, you're not looking at facts. You've never looked at facts and you just refuse to because if taxes are your issue, we're on the Trump tax plan until 2025 when it expires. Then we can put in a new tax plan and fix the taxes. All right. So if you have a problem with taxes right now, not Joe Biden's fault, not Kamala Harris's fault. Tariffs will, quite frankly, could possibly bankrupt, yes, the most wealthy and powerful country on the planet in 4 years.
Yep.
It's
Uh,
gonna hurt a lot of poor people.
these proxy wars are not draining the country. We are fine. It's less than 1% of our budget,
Yes.
less than 1% of our budget. And a lot of it is not even money. We have to assess a monetary value to products or armor or whatever we're sending over there has to be assessed by a monetary value. And probably that monetary value is more than it is currently worth. It's closer to what it was worth when it was originally made. So please do fact checking, do research. That's my plea to you with 1 week to go. But guys, I've been thinking about this. There's one thing that was said at this Trump rally that just set me ablaze. And I went as soon as you left this morning, I came in here poking around. Donald Trump said he has a secret. I have a little secret, and we're gonna tell you guys about it after the race is over. And he kind of laughed. So I went back and watched it again. He was talking. You guys know who he was talking to at that point?
Mike Johnson,
He was talking to Mike Johnson of the House,
Speaker of the House.
Speaker of the House.
Oh
Now,
God, what a moron!
when I started to think about this, I started going back through the entirety of this campaign, back to times where he would say, I don't need you to vote. I don't need your votes. Don't worry about it. Stay home. I don't need your votes. To, if I win this time, you'll never have to vote again. And
Yeah.
all of this stuff was very confusing at the time that he said it. And why he's telling people exactly what his plan is. All right. And, so I did a little bit of research here. What I believe is happening, and their secret is, as Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson tried to stop the election from being certified in 2020
Right.
when he was just a representative. He had
Yes.
no power then, right? Now,
Right.
and I want to get through this, but I'll let you guys respond. There's plenty of time here. Now he's Speaker of the House. And I believe that behind closed doors, they've had many meetings where they say, I don't care if I win. In fact, it doesn't matter if I win or not, which checks balances with the weird comments and like all this stuff. Like he's like, they vetted it and they didn't give a fuck what that guy says because it's not going to matter. That's not part of their plan. Part of their plan is not to win the election. They've been building this momentum of the Democrats are cheated, they're cheaters, they're cheaters. It's all rigged, whatever. So that when they lose, and again, there's a contingency that I'll get to in a moment. If they lose, Mike Johnson, as Speaker of the House, can develop a set of rules that would allow him to allow the majority House to install Donald Trump as president, despite the people's wishes. Now, a couple things here, gentlemen. I know you're chomping at the bit. I can tell.
Yeah.
The couple things here. All right. Donald Trump I think he would rather be installed as president than win it outright, because that proves to him that America is his. And then he can make good on all of those threats of, you'll never have to vote again. If he can supplant the will of the people and be installed in that manner, it's game over for all of us. I mean, that is terrifying. That's the first thing. The contingency here is there are 7 seats that the Democrats think that they can supplant and switch to blue. Now, if that happens, those people are sworn into office on January the 3rd, which is 3 days before the certification of the election.
Right.
And puts a big stop on that. Now, there's going to be a battle for attrition or whatever still that we cheated, blah, 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 blah. But that's huge. That's why you have to vote blue on your ballots. We've got to take the House back or we're in trouble. We're in a lot of trouble. The problem is The GOP sees 7 seats that they can flip. Now we need 4. So they're thinking even if 3 flop and we still get 4 of the 7, we're still ahead. This is the part that scares me, and I haven't been able to do a ton of research to figure out who in what states are going to flip flop what colors. I quite honestly I don't know that I have enough time in the next week to do that. But he's been telling us this plan. I don't know why he would say he has a secret like a week before. I think it just slipped, man, honestly. But wow. What do you guys think of that?
Well, I I heard the same comment and I thought to myself, there's one of two things going on. Either they really do have some kind of a plan, or um, he's just fucking with everybody's head, which he's not above doing that. But I, this is where obviously the courts are going to have to come in and sort this all out. And we got to hope like hell that there's at least 5 justices on that Supreme Court that will stop this, which means you got to get Roberts, you got to get Barrett, you got to get Kavanaugh, you got to get 2 of those 3 to vote with the
I
other
was hoping
3.
that you would bring that up, Tom, because
Yeah.
I because I want to shoot it down. Look what happened with a 53-year-old policy that never needed to be
Oh,
changed.
I know.
Everything was happy, everybody was good with it. People that didn't want abortions weren't forced to get them, people that needed them still had access. It was all settled. And look what happens. This is the
The,
first rung on the ladder of how dangerous a stacked Supreme Court can be. And the
Mhm.
second rung on that ladder was telling them that he had immunity on official acts. They're telling us that he has this kind of power to manipulate them. And that
But
I thought about all of this when I came up with this.
the more telling case even than the Dobbs decision was Bush versus Gore in the 2000 election. You had 5 Republican appointees on the court, you had 4 Democratic appointees on the court, and basically the 5 Republican appointees adopted a policy of saying that under the 14th Amendment, you got to give equal protection of the election laws. Therefore, you have to stop counting the votes in Florida because if you keep counting them, somehow that's going to be unfair. It was a position that no Republican justice on the Supreme Court had ever taken, and then just en masse, all 5 of them voted to do the politically expedient thing
right.
and put Bush in office. That's the more scary one, I think.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing, though. I don't think that um, the House is going to be able to unilaterally not count those electoral college votes. It there has to. I mean, they passed some reforms in the Electoral Count Act in the last Congress that are in effect now. I I worry more, honestly, about the Steve Bannons and those guys stirring up violence, not necessarily in Washington, D.C., but on the Electoral College Day, which is the third Wednesday in December, in the state capitals to try to prevent these electors from casting their ballots. I think that's a bigger danger.
Well, a bigger danger than installing a dictator.
I just don't see how they can install him.
Well,
Uh,
here's the
nobody's
thing.
gonna nobody's gonna recognize him as the president if they try to do that.
Look, I know that we sit here and say Trump is stupid all the time. But here's the thing. Republicans they're not stupid. The people that are
No,
in power there, if there's a way and they've been having these secret meetings, they may have found something that I can't find. I don't I mean, I'm just a guy putting together a theory. If they've got everybody on board already, I mean, dude, go watch. Just watch. You people watching this, find the clip I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Just look at it, the look on his face. He does not give a fuck if they win the election based on that
Yeah.
Because he knows he's going to lose.
look that yeah. And that's
No.
why none of what he says on the campaign trail, he's just laughing as he's like, let's have a blast this last 2 weeks. We can say, do whatever we want. It doesn't really matter because we have this plan. Now I'm just hoping that somebody becomes wise to this plan, and whatever it is, I'm just speculating. It was the best thing I could come up with, but it's scary. It really is scary. And to think that there's people already in powerful positions that would back him. And we already know that he's making promises to loyalists. So if there's people that were on the fence, like, well, once I'm president, if you give me your yes, you get to do this, you get to be this. Oh, you don't like that person, we'll wipe that person out. I mean, I can't even begin to speculate on all of this, but I sure wish I knew the exactitude of what he meant when he said.
I wish I knew too. I got a question maybe for Russ, and that is if um, if there is this secret plan that they're going to pull off, how long do you think they're going to be able to keep it secret? I mean, this is Washington and this is politicians we're talking about here.
Oh, somebody will talk. I'm sure if there whatever's going on, we'll get some version of it. Yeah, secrets are maybe they're meant to be kept, but they're not kept in that town.
I I still think he's messing with everybody. I sure hope so.
Dude, it's possible, but I and here's the thing. In order for it to be even addressed, it had to have piqued somebody else's,
Yeah.
because and I did this on purpose with you guys today. I said, let's talk about the meeting. What did you hear in the meeting? And that wasn't one of the things that came up.
That's true.
Right.
So I was like, let's talk about the stuff that was said at at the rally. This did not come up, and I was like, oh,
Well, I attribute it to my deteriorating frontal lobe.
well,
There you go.
you and Biden.
Me and Biden.
It's past your bedtime, actually.
It is.
We got about a minute left, guys. If this to me has been the most fascinating show, just because usually we have questions that we can spit to each other and we can answer appropriately. But right now, I think we're all dumbfounded on this. I do, this is one thing I do believe, and I'll let you guys get a closing statement in. I do believe Trump has been telling us his plan all along. And I mean, I'll stand by that because I'm connecting a lot of dots, and probably a lot of dots will be connected between now and election day that maybe we'll get to you on Thursday. I don't know. But I'm fascinated. Russ,
Two
I'll let you
weeks.
first.
2 weeks and counting, and it'll be over.
1 week.
I hope. Yeah, that's what I said 2 weeks. I meant 1 week.
Your bedtime too.
I hope it'll be over, but I'm afraid that it's entirely possible that a week from tomorrow or a week from Thursday is possible we won't know. That's a very, very bad thing if that happens.
I brought that up too. I was like,
Yeah,
he may not know
but
on election day, and it's going to kill people.
hopefully the margin will be large enough that it won't, there won't be any question of a recount.
Tom?
I'm just going to close by saying to anybody watching this, and there's probably none of you, but if anybody out there watching this is a Republican in the mold of the Republicans that Russ and I grew up with, which was people who believed in individual rights, individual freedoms, who believe in capitalism, who believe in the Constitution, and that our rights under the Constitution are sacred. And if you believe that all of God's children are equal and should be treated the same, please, please look at this guy. If you can't bring yourself to support the Constitution in this case, then you were never real about your professed belief in any of that stuff before.
Yeah.
Now is the time. This is the one time in your life when you need to stand up and live by your words. Now I'll just leave it at that.
All right. James Marvs for Uncle Russ in Major Tom.
See you, everybody.
Good night.